Hello everyone and welcome to Talking Business with me, Danny Pardo. On this episode I'm chatting with Anthea, who works for the National Football League in Human Resources. And if you know anything about me, then you know I'm a massive NFL fan and a big 49ers fan. So today's really interesting to be able to talk about the inside workings of the NFL, the career journey of Anthea, and the exciting things that are happening with the NFL, what's coming up for the NFL, and also what the NFL look for in its employees. So here we go. Let's talk business with Anthea. We are chatting with Anthea today. Hello, Anthea. How are you doing over there?
I'm good, thank you, Danny. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you very much. And thank you so much for joining me here. We've got about 40 minutes to get stuck into you and your job and your role, of which we don't really know too much about. So should we kick off with you? And let me ask a question, but foxes a few people. Let's see if he catches you on the hop as well. Who is Anthea?
You started with the hardest question. Who am I? So I'm Anthea Gregory. I am a HR professional. First and foremost, I'm a mum of two, and I work for the NFL as head of HR for NFL International. So that's Canada, China, Mexico, UK, and some of our central functions such as marketing and media.
So that sounds like a job with a lot of responsibility, which we'll get to a little bit later on. Whereabouts in the world are you? Are you London way? Got a lot of NFL stuff in the UK centered there.
Does my accent not give it away? So I am absolutely.
Because I was being polite.
I'm London based, so based in the UK office, and from home.
Awesome. Okay, as a lot of us are at the moment. So, I mean, what's your career journey then? So right now, in terms of being a HR professional for the NFL, a massive international organization, what's your career journey? If we can take it back to, say, 16, 17-year-old Anthea. So let's go back to your college days. We'll just talk about the work stuff, nothing else that you got up to at college. And in terms of where you were at then, was HR the dream for you when you were, say, 17, 18?
Oh, no, definitely not. I think the dream at 17, 18 was either to be a journalist or be a kickboxing teacher. So neither of those really fit into the HR bucket. Yeah. I went to university 18 and studied business studies simply because I had no idea what I wanted to do. Sure. I'm not massively academic. And so I chose a very generic degree thinking, let's see where business studies takes me, and we'll go from there. Yeah. My degree was a 4-year sandwich degree. So in year 3, we had to find a work placement. Yeah. And I found a placement with House of Fraser, which plays to my retail addiction. I had a great staff discount. So I joined as their HR and communications assistant. Yeah. Spent the first year with them, my 3rd year of uni, and absolutely loved it. Loved that it was all encompassing, very business focused, lots of different areas of expertise. I stayed there during my final year, so I worked part-time. Okay. In my 4th year when I went back to university, and then that kicked off the HR career.
Fantastic. So that HR, the placement year then in terms of HR, retail, and kind of starting to link all those things up, how important was that placement year then? Because I know students are in the middle of kind of choosing do I do a 3-year degree? What's this placement year all about? Should I spend a year in industry, or do I get out there earlier and get a graduate placement? I mean, how important was that year kind of in the middle between years 2 and 3 to go out into the workplace for you?
Oh, huge, absolutely huge. I would not change it. I think any kind of work experience that you can get along the way is fantastic. And I mean, I've always worked. I was fortunate to work with my parents when we were young, so they've instilled a work ethic. I've always worked, and I've always wanted to earn my own money and have, build my own career. So having that year and working for a company like House of Fraser, where they've got the infrastructure to really make a placement worthwhile and add lots of value to your year and to your career, absolutely fantastic. So I would definitely recommend between the 3 and the 4 years sandwich degree all the way.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it was literally life-changing, or certainly life-defining in terms of giving you that chance to go, you know what, I really like this, and quite a few years later, you're still here and working in that HR kind of scheme there, which is brilliant. So if you go back to your university days and you studied, so it was the business degree, is that right?
Yeah. And then I went back in the fourth year and specialised in HR modules.
Right. So, I mean, let's focus on those HR modules then. So now you do HR as a day job. Guy just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? It's like, yeah, I just do HR. So in terms of HR now, are you still using things that you learnt at university in terms of theory, or is it more the independent work, the networking, the deadline meeting and things like that, or a bit of both?
I mean, it's leaning towards the latter. Every now and then I get a flashback to the theory, but I think at the time I was too inexperienced to actually understand what it meant. So it was simply just theory. And I think that had I done, because I did a master's as well, which was sponsored by Sainsbury's when I worked for Sainsbury's. At the time, I don't think I was able to apply it, or I had the knowledge or work experience or know how to apply it. And now I have flashbacks. I'm like, oh, okay, that starts to make sense. But I think anyone that is thinking about doing a further education, definitely do it a little bit later in life, because you then get to really kind of mold them together.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's obviously what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, really, sometimes maybe without even realising it. So in terms of a day-to-day basis, then, what does a HR professional like you do? Is there a normal day at work? You know, you start at a certain time, you finish at a certain time, everything's all honky-dory. Obviously, COVID has thrown a spanner in those works for a lot of people. But even now, working at home, is there a normal day at work for you?
There's never a normal day at work. Absolutely isn't. I think the nature of HR, as much as we try, we are a reactive function. And so whilst you can control some elements, especially working in an international role and across 3-4 different kind of time zones, there's no normal day. And that's what makes it exciting. That's what makes it interesting. That's what keeps you motivated and just driven to do a good job, because there is no 2 days the same.
Yeah. And what are some of the things you do during the day? I mean, because we see job profiles and all these kind of things on the internet and bullet points of what in a job description of what you might do. What kind of things are you doing in your day job? Obviously, we aren't getting too many secrets away. But in terms of communication, you know, are you keeping it local? Are you on Zoom meetings all day? Are you writing reports? I mean, what are you actually doing, if you don't mind me asking?
I do. There's a lot of coaching. There's a lot of communication. So it's either career coaching. It's talking about training and development. There's ebbs and flows when it comes to recruitment. So at the moment, there's a lot of recruitment around the London Games and seasonal recruitment. One day could be organising training in China and having a coaching conversation in Canada. And doing some employee relations in the UK. So it really does vary. But I think that the actual subjects are the same. It's employee relations, it's recruitment, it's coaching. There's a lot of work around culture and training and development.
Yeah, and you mentioned they're working internationally. So we are talking internationally. We're not just talking Europe, although there's the perception that, okay, this side of the NFL just does England and maybe moving on to Europe with Germany and things like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking China, Canada, Mexico, LA, things like that. I mean, what are the challenges with working with those? Time would be one. Is communication an issue now, or has technology kind of solved that?
I mean, as much as we almost not complain, but Zoom fatigue is a real thing. I think for me in the last 18 months, Zoom has allowed me to build such good relationships with my teams internationally. Even from the HR team, I'm the only HR member who is based this side of the pond. And I know my team so well now, simply because we've Zoom is a way of life. And it's also allowed me almost to stretch out my day, so I can start early and do UK and China, and then I can work really late and work with the US teams. But so for me, I actually feel much more integrated. It's tiring, it's a long day, and I have to be tough with my time sometimes, but ultimately I think it's been a really good thing.
Have you ever met your team physically?
I've met not many. I've met a few of them back in the day when we were allowed to get on aeroplanes.
I've
met a few.
Wow, fascinating. So yeah, I mean, you're managing people then who maybe you've never had that physical contact with, and you are right, Zoom fatigue. You don't need to tell a teacher all about that, and I'm sure you don't need to tell too many people all about that.
Yeah.
It's been a year and a bit, hasn't it, with regards to that? So, do you have any? Are there any language barriers? Are you like bilingual, multilingual? Do you have people who have to do that for you, or is English the common language?
English is a common language. My Spanish is not great and should be better. And I always promise the Mexican team I'm going to get better. I haven't yet, so I aspire to converse with them.
And we've got that on tape now as well. So you've got to do it now. Yeah.
I know that is true. It's a commitment, a legal document, I'm sure. But no, there's no language barriers.
Awesome. Oh, that's nice to hear. So you've mentioned, we work for the NFL, the National Football League, a massive international sports organization. And I can imagine a lot of people going, wow, that's a dream job. And for a lot of people, it probably is. Is it as glamorous as it sounds? We see NFL and we see the adverts and the music's pumping and we see Wembley Stadium full and everything's kicking off. I've got T-shirts into the crowds and all this kind of exciting stuff. Is it as glamorous as that?
I would never call the world of HR glamorous, but there are times when the NFL, is. So my favourite memory is the first London game, walking on the pitch at Wembley and walking on the side of the pitch and looking up and seeing Wembley in its glory, and just such a defining moment, a goosebumps moment. So that when you look, remember that is absolutely the glamorous part. The day-to-day is not so much.
Yeah, because you've still got a job to do. Yeah, but perks of a job like that aren't to be kind of underestimated, are they? You are really contributing to something that's making a difference to a lot of people's lives and giving them that entertainment. And this year coming up even more so. I mean, heading into September, then is it? Do you feel the pressure from that at the moment? Are you feeling kind of? I presume you've got quite a few deadlines in. Do you feel the pressure from that at the moment, or do you think that will more be a couple of weeks before when you go, oh my? Now 6 months or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely feel it ramping up. Obviously, last year was a very different year. And so I think it's not so much pressure, but it's excitement and almost going back 2 years and picking up the learns from when we did have games or when we played games in 2019. I had to remember what year we were.
Same.
But yeah, so different teams have different varying levels of pressure, but it's a real excitement. We are so happy to have the games back. Working with Spurs in a new stadium, so all good pressure.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see from a fan's point of view, and I imagine for you, really you've got that goal, haven't you? That it's a real kind of tangible goal, but but I guess everybody in your organization is working towards. I mean, are you having to deal with other departments? Some of our theory that we teach is that departments have to work with each other. With regards to HR, then, are you training people in other areas? You're dealing with recruitment in, say, hospitality and things. How important then is that communication amongst all the different departments that makes so that me, for example, can walk into a game in Tottenham and it all just like, oh, look, there's a football game on.
I mean, for the UK, if I look at the UK specifically, we're a team of 50. So we have that almost family feel, that entrepreneurial spirit. We try to work as collaboratively as possible. But HR is the best thing about this business. Is HR is seen as a player. So we're on the leadership team, and we work closely with commercial team, marketing, events, operations, ticketing, finance, and we are one team. And so everything we do or we strive to do in collaboration. And I think that's what makes us a successful team.
Yeah, and you are a successful team with, as soon as you announce a London game and as soon as those tickets go on sale, poof, they'll be gone. Yeah, I would have thought, that first hour or two of the tickets going on sale and they're gone, aren't they? I remember when it was a case of, we'll do a London game, we'll see what happens. And it was just coming over here. Now it's like, what do you mean you're not doing like 4 London games and 5 London games? Such a part of kind of the ethos of the NFL now. Which is really exciting, I suppose. I mean, would you be looking to, obviously there's a lot of talk about London franchises, London teams. Are you kind of steady at the the moment with the NFL in the UK, or are you looking to grow either just in London, or what's going on kind of grassroots around the country? Is there much growth happening for the NFL at the moment over here?
Well, obviously we've recently announced moving to Germany.
Yeah.
Which is exciting and will have huge growth potential for the future. We have a community team that is dedicated to grassroots, so working with primary school children, flag football. We're looking at flag football for young women. And then we have our academy, so 16 to 18 years old, based at Barnet and Southgate College. I think we have 70 to 80 students. They're actually the first round of students are finishing and soon to graduate this Friday.
So it would be.
And so
Friday, fantastic.
Yeah, so it's exciting times, and we can see the talent coming through, and we can see, you know, growing fans from such a young age, from 7, 8, 9 years old, and that is exciting, and that is our future.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel a sense of pride with that, with what you're doing, that you are actually kind of giving back, and obviously it's a product and a service, and money is exchanged. I get all that. I give lots of money to the NFL, but do you feel like a sense of pride as well as it paying your wages?
Oh, definitely. I don't think you can work for a business like this and not feel a sense of pride.
Yeah.
When I see, I mean, I live quite near to Barnet and Southgate, and when I see some of the kids or the students in the streets in their NFL Academy t-shirts, I literally want to jump out the car and say, "Hi, I'm Anthea, I'm from HR. I'm really proud of you. How are you getting on? Are you enjoying the course?" And just because you see that you could be life-changing for that individual, and that makes me really proud.
Yeah, and life-changing isn't even an over-exaggeration, is it? You know, sports can have a massive impact on us on a variety of levels. And so in terms of like being a sports fan, you're talking about the NFL and youngsters now becoming fans, which is great. You know, the game certainly isn't going anywhere other than up, it seems, in the UK. In terms of working then for the NFL, we spoke about this briefly on kind of like a chat before this. I'm a big NFL fan, and I know bits and bobs about marketing and HR and finance and things. Can you just be a passionate NFL fan and therefore you should be employed by the NFL? Or is there a little bit more to it?
There is a little bit more to it. And actually, sometimes we find that the very passionate fans sometimes are maybe not the best people for the role, because you end up being a bit... you know, your fandom and the stardom almost takes over the role that you're doing. And what actually we do need is commercial thinkers, business driven, kind of business acumen, but an understanding of the game, or an understanding of sports is definitely critical.
Yeah,
not too crazy a fan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I'm never going to send a CV. Then I'll just put it like that. I'll stick to.
Well, you have a connection in HR now, so you can send your CV. But I'm not sure where we'll put you just yet.
Well, I'm going to edit that last bit out, and then hopefully you'll forget I ever said it, and we'll be just like, yes. So here we go, Anthea. I would like to come and work for you. There we go, job done. So you know, you mentioned about some of the things you're looking for in new staff members for 17, 18-year-olds at the moment, or people leaving university who are thinking, I want to work in HR. What should they be doing? A lot of people I've spoken to have said volunteering. You've said the importance of getting experience. I mean, what would you say to, say, 18 or 21-year-olds that, okay, you're interested in HR, so you should do, what should they do?
Well, if you're 17 and 18 years old and you know that you want a career in HR, then you should absolutely start to strive towards getting work experience. And it could be working in a recruitment agency. It could be working within a training provider. I think if you can take some further education, that's great, because as much as the theory is difficult to apply when you're young, it does help you as you grow your career. But for me, work experience is invaluable. And it can be anything. It can be working in a coffee shop and working with people and understanding how to converse with adults and have that real customer service, exceptional customer service, and be best in class. That's what I think will see you through to a successful career, not just in HR, but just in general.
Yeah, and thank you so much for saying that, because it really kind of hammers home that learning how to interact and how to communicate and how to be personable and work in a team. I mean, how hard has it been for you to kind of find out if people have got those, we call them soft skills, and I never really liked that phrase because they're massively important to people's success and business success. But in terms of communication and teamwork and things like that, are you looking for that? And how would you expect people to demonstrate them? Would you expect to see it in like personal statements, CVs, linking in with experience?
I mean, you see some of it in a CV, in a personal statement, but you have to meet, you have to meet every single person that you're going to recruit and have work as part of your team. I think the NFL has quite a vigorous, heavy recruitment process. I had 8 interviews before I got this job. Wow. And at each time, it's just, do you have a personality click? Yeah. Can you work with different people? Do you think you can be collaborative with many different functions? Are you driven? Are you ambitious? Do you want to do well? And all of that, I think, comes through different stages of the recruitment process.
Yeah. What are some of the mistakes you see people making? We're not going to get too personal, but, in terms of when you see CVs and things coming, because I always hammer home, just get the professionalism right, spelling and grammar, get basics right. How important is it to do that? I wonder if you can back me up in my class here and I can play this out.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, spelling and grammar is so important. I think having a quick personal statement at the top is always really important. I think seeing work experience before education. For me, I always look at where people have worked, what kind of roles they've taken on, anything extra curriculum that they have, gone out and searched for to add to their CV, for me is very important. And also always read the brief. So if a recruitment brief says, send a cover letter, send a cover letter. If it says, send a piece of work, send a piece of work. So often we just get CVs and that's not what we asked for. And so I think that is so critical. And then another thing is, when you get through the recruitment process, if you're asked to do a presentation and a presentation is 15 minutes, make it 15 minutes. Don't make it 30, don't make it 5.
Yes.
Because we often find that we don't take those people on because they haven't listened to the brief. And you could be exceptional, but it's really key. It's a really key part of the recruitment process.
Yeah, and it's the importance as well of following instructions, isn't it? If that's the first instruction, so for example, if that's the first instruction that Anthea has ever given you and you're not following it, then chances are you're probably not going to want to work with that person, as harsh as that sounds, and all the work you might have done beforehand, but getting those impressions right. And if you want to work for an organization, you have to do what the organization wants you to do. So it's kind of interesting to hear that. How do you feel about your role as a role model for other younger female students or possible employees? And the reason I ask that is because I've spoke to students and we are lacking a bit of role models. If you're not on social media with 1 million followers on TikTok, you're a nobody. So how would you feel in terms of your role? I don't know if you've ever been called a role model before. Is this the first time? Or?
I mean, my kids might call me if they want something, but it's very unlikely and very not very often.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be honoured to be considered a role model. I don't know whether I am, but I'm definitely a female leader within a sports industry. I would love to have more females or see more females in sports. And I think sometimes as a girl, you look at the NFL and you don't necessarily feel like it's something that you can, you have an affiliation with. So I think for me, I have to commit to promoting the benefits of being a female in the workplace and a female in the sports industry, but absolutely champion it. I think it would be great to have more girls grow up into leadership roles into this industry.
Yeah, it would be fascinating to see because, we've got some amazing students in my classes this year. And I don't mean to disrespect the gentlemen in my classes as well, because they're amazing as well. But, providing those role models and saying that you can achieve, you can do these things. I mean, have you had to battle stereotypes at all during your career? Not so much working in sports, but you've been in the industry a long time. And have you seen changes towards that? Because we only really get the media point of view with regards to gender pay gaps, and we hear all statistics and things. Is that anything you've had to battle at all, if you don't mind asking?
No, I don't mind at all. I've seen it in different, varying degrees. I've been lucky not to see it too often. And I know, especially for the NFL, we strive to not be that business.
Yeah.
But you do see it and you hear about it, but I don't think it's necessarily in retail or in sports.
Yeah.
I think professional services, there's definitely more of a difference. And the companies I've worked for, I've always had the flexibility to make those changes.
Yeah. So, well, that's great to see, and I hope that it keeps moving forward in a positive light. And well done to you as well for championing what you do. And who knows, you might end up with some of my students one day. You never know. So, I mean, what's next then for you and the NFL? You personally, obviously, you're in what seems like a really kind of cool job, and you're enjoying it and working hard and succeeding at it. From my perspective, I don't know if you want to send that to your managers or not, but so what's next for you then in terms of your personal development? Are you kind of staying where you are, or are you thinking, what, I want to see what's next for me? Or
definitely staying where I am. I love working for this business. The NFL allows me to be a good professional, a good HR leader, and a good parent. And there's not many businesses that allow you to be both. And for that reason, I'm very passionate about, making sure I can stay and continue to carve out a career. I'd like to start to look at our D&I initiatives now and commitment to inspiring change and be able to look back in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, and be part of that change and have actually made a tangible difference. And I know, we're talking about diversity and inclusion, and we're talking about where it stems from and what it means, but I want to be part of the actual making a difference. And so that's my commitment for the next few years. Going into Germany is a big deal, and I want to make sure that we have the right team set up to lead that change and lead that into a successful tender process and have a team and a game in Germany next year, hopefully.
Yeah, and isn't that fascinating how all the things you were just saying, we haven't related to money? Because I know a lot of students, understandably, been there, done that. Yeah, well, how much am I going to get paid? How much am I going to earn? And don't worry, I'm not going to ask you. But in terms of what your role is, going back to what we said earlier, the pride and wanting to take part and be involved and make a difference is a big part of it. And it seems like you can actually do that there, which is great. So as we kind of roll towards the end here, we've had some brilliant advice. I'm going to ask you two quick questions here. In terms of the stresses of your job, do you ever feel like a lack of confidence? Are you ever overwhelmed with what you're doing? Do you feel stressed by somebody says, we're going into Germany, and you go, we're going into Germany, what? Or is it more the excitement, or has your experience helped you deal with that? I mean, do you ever feel that in your job?
I mean, by my nature, I'm a laid-back character anyway, so that probably does help manage change and stress. I have a fantastic team. I have, Alistair Kirkwood, who was our head of UK previously, Kim McFadden, who is my VP of HR based in New York. Brett Gosper's come on board, and he's a champion of people in HR. And then my team, my leadership team, everyone that works for the NFL, we are almost like a family, and that helps. That makes a difference. So having that internal infrastructure, I think, helps manage that stress. There's always going to be stressful days, and I will be the person that is throwing things around and muttering under my breath sometimes, and other times I'll just go quiet and work through and get some coping mechanisms in place. But I think that if you have a team, if you have a support network, and if you know that change is inevitable, you just have to turn it into something good, then that will help you navigate through those difficult periods.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. All right, let's do one last question here as we roll towards the end, and I check my timer. If you could go back, and I haven't prepped you, I'm sorry. If you could go back to when you were, say, 17, 18, and give yourself a bit of advice, or you wish somebody had given you some advice and you'd stuck with it, used it as a mantra, what would that advice be?
No, you have not prepped me for this question.
Yes, sorry.
But
it goes my job in the NFL.
No, that's fine. Do you know, I think my advice to myself would be to always have that professional maturity, because I think sometimes at 17, 18 years old, I mean, I was a bit flighty, and I look back on different conversations and I think, oh, I wish I handled that better. And I think if I'd been more well equipped, or been given a piece of advice that said, you can be friendly, you can be laid back, but you always be professionally mature. I think that would have helped. But you live and learn, and I'm fortunate and thankful to be where I am, and working for a great business. And so if anyone does ask me, that's the advice I would give them too.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Anthea, for the advice, and also for kind of breaking down the walls a bit of a massive international organisation that needs to be run by real people. And you know, you've said a few times that it's like working as a little family there, and that's fascinating to hear, because I don't think the perception of the NFL would normally be like that. So thanks for kind of breaking that down and giving us that insight into what you do and what you and your colleagues do. And thanks for everything you do with the NFL. You know, we're looking forward to London games again, aren't we? And all the mayhem that brings. And for now, then, I will say thank you very much. Stay on the line just for a second, if that's all right. We'll have a quick catch up before we go. But for now, I'll just say thanks very much for talking business. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you again. Thank you.
Thank you too, Danny.
Thank you very much, Anthea, for taking the time to share your career journey and those inside insights into the world of the NFL with me and our viewers and our listeners. It really is much appreciated, and it's fascinating to hear your passion for your career and for the organisation that you work for. So cheers and thank you. And thank you to everybody else for listening, watching, reviewing, rating, sharing and subscribing and all those good things that you do. Please do be sure to say hello. Just have a look for Pardo's Business on your social medias and you'll find me on there. And until next time, thanks very much. Cheerio.